So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Friday Fighters podcast. This is a community podcast where we talk about anything and everything Street Fighter duels. And today's topic, hopefully multiple topics, but the largest one will be about the Dante and his collaboration. How people view it, how it's ran, is it free to play, is it pay to win, and basically just in general how people overall feel about the event. Me personally, I love this event. It's very interesting and unique, and especially in the explore and how they handled the whole exploration and the modules, leveling up the modules, picking certain ones that benefit your team to actually be able to unlock and defeat the exploration. As there's regular Dante, Devil Dante, and then a Bison boss, and a lot of people felt that it, instead of time gating it where it's like, okay, you can't do this next level until 3 days and whatever, it was more in terms of just a power gate. It was a smaller form of a time gate where if you were able to manipulate and maneuver the mods, you were able to break that barrier to a certain extent. And I absolutely like loved it, especially where, within the community, especially now where people are chasing the max damage on bosses and stuff. People are just exchanging what they're using, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and it's interesting to see different teams. And it's you see like everyone's using the same teams, but then there's people that are trying to be different and like break the boundaries, because not many people have Monster Hunter Ken, not many people have a high Akuma, and so on and so forth. Especially where those units are seen as whale or pay to win units compared to like a Guile or something like that, where they're more free to play. I guess my question would be to those that are here, and if you are one of those that are chasing the high numbers, what team are you using? What modules are you using? And uh, what would you feel would be what would you change in the terms of like maybe your team, the modules, or how the event is to make it a little bit better if you feel that is not the greatest? Because I know I don't know 100% on terms of Guile. I know there's many Guile users here, but from my understanding, Guile isn't the greatest in terms of boss destroying. But I may be wrong in that terms because of the range and reach that Guile has doesn't necessarily uh compare to like, I mean, a lot of people compare him to Viper, which I'm not sure is a good comparison. That's What do you guys think in that instance?
I mean, I can speak on Gal's behalf, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like most of the modifiers in the current event, it's not favored towards Guile because you want to use like three masters and you want to use no power or something like that. So then it's not favoring Guile. So you see him in play. But like with the two bosses, he definitely performs better compared to other characters in the solo ones. But from the Akuma boss compared to the current one, the Akuma boss was two bosses, right? So it's not only him alone. So Gao did perform way better than he is right now.
So in what would you change or what would you do differently?
I mean, with the current multipliers and um, the buffs that you want, it's more geared towards okay, you need MH can or you want one copy of Dante, so then you fulfill those multiplier roles, and that's how you get the crazy scores. But then for newer players that comes in, like if they don't have like the luck to pull it, because it's quite hard to pull like a Dante, or I mean, if you're lucky enough to get an MH can, you can use that
Mm-hmm.
instead. But they cannot. They're competing with people in their own cluster, so it's not like a big of a deal, right? But
Yeah.
like if it was whole server based, then obviously that's going to be not fair. But I mean, I would say that it's fair.
And what modules are you using for your comp, and like how can you Like, what are you doing to push damage from one match to another? Like, how do you look at that and say, what can I do differently?
I mean, for the module, it's depending on who you build and who you're planning to use. But then, like, what I don't really like is that it's not really like clear, and you can't really test well because of the limited tries that we have compared to Akuma's event. So then we don't have too much freedom. But like, it's misleading sometimes because like the it might seem like the modules are faction or power based, and you cannot be shared among others, but then it's only like the three stats that they give. Like there's the stats from the module itself, so when you upgrade the flat stats it applies to everyone, but then the three stats that comes with the specific module, that's universal as well. But the only thing that is locked towards the advertised faction or class, it is the text under it. And sometimes, like what I did is I use some a wind module, even though I don't use any winds in my comp, just because of the three substats that you get, if that makes sense. I don't know if anyone else is also using that.
So the main icon doesn't really impact the module itself.
Yeah, because sometimes you want to mix and match, right? And like to get the optimal, it depends on your team and who you run. But what's weird is that like if you have like a module, you definitely need one module with lifesteal. That's for sure. You need one module for lifesteal, and with between the lifesteal modules, you have wind and you have power. There's others probably, but those are the two best ones. And even though I have Bison in my team, instead of using the power one, I use the wind one just because instead of crit, I'm getting crit damage, and that's probably gonna scale more higher. But that's from other people's testing, so I'm just using what they're using, and it worked better. But I don't know what you guys are also using for the
I
modules, but that's what I'm
I
using.
was testing the. I don't know how impactful they are. The what the modules where it's like speed, like a small percentage of speed goes to crit damage and stuff like that.
Legendary. One of the legendary modules, I think.
That's
Yeah,
yeah, I think so. To be honest, I honestly did not think that the icons like mattered towards the class. I just didn't. I didn't see that or really care. I'm just using whatever to try to see what works. And like for me at Dawson, like the true damage one is insane. I don't know if anyone's using that one where you get true damage after crit. Like that one is nuts for me, especially as a Dawson user. Like you'll see the burn chunks, but then you'll also see like another chunk after the burn for the true damage.
exactly. That's why Fashion Blanca's used, just because he's also considered like the same class.
Yeah.
He's also getting the true damage thing. But yeah, but I was kind of baited on building Chun Li because he's also in that true damage thing. But then just because I'm using Chun Li, I'm losing on a lot of multipliers that I would have gotten. Like I'm not getting the three infernal or master. I'm using a female now and stuff like that. So it's a little bit iffy. Like you want to use this, but then there's an optimal team that you want to use just because of the multipliers that it's set. So there is some freedom, but then to
Are
get
the
the most.
multipliers that important?
Yeah, well, it is the more the multipliers you have, the better it is. That's why the current best team is with the Dante one, even at base copy. I think the highest scoring is the 320% multipliers. But before that, we were using the MH Kane, MH. Oh, I'm so bad at talking. MH Can uh, modules, which is the 274%.
Now, I guess now my question would be, it was like, because I know, I guess that's the anti meta in me where I go against the grain where it was like, is there really one maxed potential team? And I've always like I understand that with like modifiers and all that stuff like that, there's always going to be that like optimal, I guess. But
Exactly.
I hate it. That's just me. That's just a personal problem that I have, because it's
Um,
like I like the idea of more options versus like everyone using the same thing. Because in that
well,
instance, it's like competition is what makes optimization better.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're okay, if you had your Dawson built, like I've seen crazy numbers, but the people that use them didn't share them. I've seen crazy numbers that like Dawson puts in the Akuma event just because the things aren't like tied to multipliers. So then there's like still freedom of choosing. Okay, I can use this, I can use this, but
Mm-hmm.
then with the current event with the multipliers, if it was just the workbench itself, then there will be more surprises on the meta. Like okay, maybe we didn't expect this to be really good, but it is really good because of the workbench solely. But since we have the multipliers, it's like okay, you must use a Dante, you must use a 3 Infernal Master, you must, it's different.
Yeah. I guess
well,
what other, if we was to take away those multipliers, what other options, because isn't the Infernal Master one kind of hard in terms of like free to play users? Because like I
I mean,
understand. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm free to play, and I managed to run the supposed optimal team, which is Bison, F Blanca, Dante, and Street Poison,
Mm-hmm.
and that nets me about 1.5 billion as a free to play, like a
Okay.
relative, like really casual free to play, and that's what's been said is like
May I
the
ask
optimal team
your
for the
bison?
singles.
Is your bison built up? Is or like how are you using your bison?
Bison is SS plus, and I
Okay.
use his C3 in the chain.
Okay. Oh, you use him in the combo?
Yeah, because it's F Blanca Super, and then Street Poison C1, F Blanca, and then Bison again. And that's for the single Dante boss, like not the double one.
Oh, okay. And, to me, it's I guess because I never use Bison in the combo, it's so like weird when I hear people use him in the combo. But I think it was
Yeah,
Don Luca who was explaining. He was like how he uses his Bison to push everyone to the wall, and I was like, that's just, it's not something that I ever would think about, because it's like I'm so I'm so like ingrained with C3 always being Dhalsim that I would never use anything outside of that, and that's just a
yeah.
hindrance of me. I understand that, but it's interesting how like what else would weakness help in terms of bosses or just in general as well? Because that's another thing I wanted to ask people. Because like everyone mentions Bison, obviously he's OP, immortal, damage buff, damage is insane in Cell. But like if he wasn't immortal, would his kit actually be good in terms of like an overall unit?
I don't think so. I think he relies on just taking all the damage because I find that in normal chapters I don't use him in my combo because I'm in Guile. So for me, he's just a tank that takes all the damage and he deals with his passive.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only damage I get from him.
For me, like, okay, MH Ken and like Bison and probably characters that's gonna come out after that is very valuable just because they don't need to, like E Honda as well. They don't need to be in the combo chain to be valuable. Like those type of characters are like, okay, you can only use, or sometimes you can use all four of them in the combo, but most likely you're just using, the super, and then you have one more option for the DPS to be in combo 2, combo 3. Can't have it on combo 1, and combo 1 is probably the buff or the second one, and combo 3 is always the nuker or the damage dealer. So then having someone like Bison or MHCan or E Honda, like they don't need to be in the combo to actually, well, maybe E Honda super needs to be in, but Like that being said, like a character that does not be need the combo chain to actually perform is quite valuable.
Yeah.
Yo, no, that's definitely. I'm curious, like, what. Okay, so in terms of value in units and stuff like that, I guess this is a interesting topic that I'd like to touch on. What are the criteria for a good unit for you guys? Because like how you mentioned, not being used in a combo is valuable. So Monster Hunter Ken is amazing because he literally just gives free combos and stuff. What else? What would make the perfect unit in terms of like usability and power outlook and all those things like that? Like, is Bison it? Is he like what we should aim all the units to be, or is it that he's just that strong because of his immortality right now? Like, what would we like to see from a unit to make them like, I guess not OP, because like obviously you could overtune a unit and everyone would use it, but I would like to break down a character more than just OPness. Cause like Guile's not OP. Guile to me is not OP. He's perfectly balanced. He does his job good. He does his job amazing. And
Mm.
outside of that, he doesn't have another job.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Gal is like only for story, and obviously, like when I say story, it's like also tower and wind tower, just like the PVE contents. But I mean, he's also decent in PvP. Don't get me wrong, but you're not gonna be using Guile in outside of the two man bosses, and sometimes Fashion Blanca like outright is better. But then that's also like sometimes in games you don't in characters you don't need to you have to see like, okay, is their animations fast, or there's like hidden stuff that is not on paper that you have to
Mm-hmm.
consider as well. And like why a lot of people are using Gal even on solo bosses is because his animation's like snappy and quick, unlike other characters, making him, you can stack poison buffs like rapidly just due to his fast animation. If you want to put Cammy in that list of like, okay, Cammy's a boss unit, but if you use a Cammy and you start comboing, she's just gonna go in like, if you've realized that Bison, sometimes you want to use a C1 or C2 and you can't click it just because it's unavailable. Cammy does that because she keeps on proccing additional attack, right?
I hate
So if
that.
you
I hate that in Bison.
exactly right, that's why like, okay, someone with a fast animation, like if Cammy did not had that issue and was super fast, she'll be crazy for bosses. Like compared with alongside like stacking the poison buffs.
Yeah.
So animation,
Yeah,
overall
animation is
overall utility and power.
Yeah, like if you like in other games, like they have like crazy power scaling. If you're comparing it to AFK Arena, there's like like damage based on HP or stuff like that, like absorbs enemies attack or something like that. Like if you absorb enemies attack and defense or anything like that, you're absorbing like the higher deficit attack and defense, meaning like you're basically having a lot of stats that you're not supposed to just because the enemies are having so much stats. That would be crazy if we, but that's when the game's going through like power creep and stuff like that.
You mentioned the
uh
character like that from AFK Arena, right? That does
yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
similar to that.
Basically steals attack and defense of the stuff, making them like a solo unit.
Interesting.
And like jury was technically supposed to be really like it's jury's like a mini version of a character in AFK Arena called Lucretia. Like Lucretia can just solo everything on herself, but then the difference between AFK Arena and this game is that in AFK Arena it doesn't matter if you're the only unit remaining, but in this game you don't want your team to die, so then you want to get your combo 3. So you cannot have like, oh, if your 2 units die she gets super buffed up, but then you cannot land your combo 3, so that's kind of useless.
Now, I guess the next thing would be, because how do we, are we trying to prevent power creep, or do we just not care about that?
Uh,
I think we should prevent it.
Bison's already quite powerful.
Because like I know a lot of people complain about power creep in terms of like it's they say their basis is it's pointless to raise a unit now because the new unit is gonna be better. And like I don't know if that's truly the case in terms of Street Fighter duels because if I know we're not supposed to, but if we look at other regions as an example, like Elena, Dawson, Combat Guile, like these are all units that launched at at the beginning, and they're still the meta defining units. Obviously, Bison is not the same in those other regions, but you know, for the everything else, it's still similar to an extent.
Yeah,
Well, I don't think that the new units like Dante and Akuma are power creeping, especially for free to play players. They just seem underwhelming if you're not paying for them.
Hmm.
yeah, but like for Dante, like the kits from other versions, and also the kit that was like brought down or leaked towards Painblade and stuff like that, sound really OP. So I don't know if they intentionally make it worse just because they were scared with MH Ken. If that actually impacted something. Like okay, maybe like more players are gonna quit if Dante was a must have or something like that. I don't know if that was like a factor in
That's
and
it. Actually, interesting
That's a very good point.
because it's like, do we want? So I guess the outlook is different as players. So let's think about it this way: as players, do we want power creep? Yes or no?
uh technically no. Just I mean for a dev, they probably would want because they want to sell their units, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
for us as players, we want to keep our units that we invested right now to be viable in future contents. But then usually, if you want to like, if no one's summoning for Dante, no one's summoning for Vega and stuff like that, how is the devs gonna make their money, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then they're probably gonna power creep just for the sake of monetization.
Now, but here's the thing. Let's take monetization out because obviously, business wants to make money and stuff like that. But a lot of people, I've not a lot of people, I've noticed that an argument in terms of power creep, where there's one argument where people say our older units are useless after a certain point, and then the other argument is that the new units are boring without being powerful. So it's a balance that you have to try to meet, which is it's interesting because like if I'm a dev, how do you do that?
Yeah,
That's the eternal struggle, isn't it?
I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying. I think power creep is like fine as long as the base roster can like also do the content. Sure, the new units that come out or whatever can do it better, can do it faster, but as long as your base roster can do it, then I don't really have too big of a problem is it with it. But the thing is just players in general, they just see the bigger, better unit and then yeah, they'll come to the conclusion that this unit's useless, but it's not actually the case. But that's the thing with gamers, they want the easiest, fastest route when it's there.
They want their money and they want it now.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I don't know. I like in that sort of sense, I'm like you, Turtle, where like I don't care about the biggest, baddest unit. As long as the units I have can also do it. It might take
Yeah,
me a couple days longer, it might take me a week longer, but hey, like I can do it too.
yeah, exactly. I guess because the reason why I asked is because like if we're talking in terms of the overall health of the game, we technically want Dante to succeed.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, for sure.
we want, and I say technically in terms of like the overall game because a lot of people are pay to win and a lot of people are free to play. They don't care. But if you're free to play, you should still want Dante to succeed.
Mhm.
And obviously, in certain manners, comparatively to like a free to play unit, you don't want him to be mandatory, but you want him to be good. And from my what I'm noticing is Dante is just not good. So did in the terms of the unit, did the unit hurt the game in the overall outlook? Because like we could separate the event. Like me personally, I like I said before, to me the event is dope. it's amazing. A whole bunch of
Yeah.
resources. It's new content that haven't been done before. It's not as time gated as the previous event because I legitimately hated waiting 3 days to be able to just move on to the next part.
Mm-hmm.
So with the event is the way it is now, I give it like 5 gold stars. It's dope. But when you look at Dante, yeah, he gets like a star and a half. He's not
Like,
that good.
I'm in a really similar situation with you in terms of how I feel about it because the event itself is amazing. Like the whole exploration, the workbench. It just feels, very different and unique to a lot of the events we've been getting recently.
Mm-hmm.
But the summoning, it hurt my soul. Like you can see what my picture is. I honestly wish that we had like paid for summons or at least the summoning page where you could get, like shards as well as the character. And
Bro.
if they took that away, like say 2 weeks after, so say we get all our special summon tickets, it's a whole new page. We use that and you can buy them obviously from the shop. Um, but then we're able to get the shards and the character. I feel like it would have been a much better experience.
Yeah.
Because just going to there, it's basically divination with a different skin and a
Mm-hmm.
different animation. Get
Exactly.
shot, you're done, and now it's like okay, let me go and summon for the EX. Oh wait, I don't have any of these tokens to summon for it. How do I get them?
The
Quest.
EX thing, that's another topic I want to talk
Like,
to everybody about. Because Lord
just
Jesus, I got problems with the EX.
like
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
same.
so bad.
But
Like I
like
know.
you hit the nail on the head, and it's funny because like I honestly, with how the Monster Hunter Ken event was perceived initially, and I mean like if for those who are listening in and were not part of the server, it blew up. Like it was like the topic of contention. You loved it, you hated it. It paid to win. There's so many videos that came out with Monster Hunter Ken, and now there's been, I swear to God, the amount of people that say I wish it was like the Monster Hunter Ken event, I'm just like, it blows my mind. It legitimately blows my mind because I was just like, from everyone despising it and hating it to now people wishing that it was back. And I was just like, how?
I mean,
How does it
especially
change from that drastic of a hate to now people wanting it?
yeah.
The one thing I think that I wish was similar to the Monster Hunter Ken event is when you're talking about the EX, putting the EX in the same general pool with all of the other EXs and it being the same one shard you might get, or you might get lucky and get the whole EX. Like it feels kind of ugh having a special event EX be in the general sort of pool for an event.
I mean, they should just revamp the whole EX thing, anyways.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
besides just the implementation into the EX stuff.
Yeah, that I was talking to Peace earlier. He mentioned because it was like we only get two scroll EX scrolls, whatever they're called,
Week.
a
Yeah,
week.
for free.
It sucks. Like realistically, that's horrible when you need 5 to be able to do a quote unquote full pull.
And
So
then when you
I mean,
not even guaranteed to get any pieces of
Yeah, I
the
don't even
extra.
think the 5 pull does it say. I don't
it
think it
doesn't
says.
do anything. No, it doesn't do anything.
Okay,
It's
so just
useless.
get 5 pulls at once. Yeah.
All it
I
does
mean,
is watch the animation 4 less times.
Yeah, it's that's all it is. Like it doesn't say oh guaranteed this or better odds.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just all right. YOLO. Good luck and suck it if you suck.
Yeah.
in
And
in my experience, I've been playing since just before the MHK event,
Hmm.
Yeah. Same
and
here.
I only just got my first like new EX move last week,
yep,
Yo, actually,
and
I'm
same here.
I'm in the
I got
that's
same
the
the
Ryu
boat.
same.
one. I got the Ryu one like last week.
I got the potato one. I got the potato one like about a week or two ago. Yeah.
yeah, I got the Rio one as well. But like, I never from the whole 2 weeks, I haven't gotten a whole piece of the EX move from the gacha.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no, neither have
since
I.
these 2 weeks, I haven't even gotten a single EX shot from any of the enlightening scrolls that we've been
Yeah,
getting.
my shards all come from Idol.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's
Yeah.
right.
scrolls give
Exactly.
me the scrolls give me the freaking crystal balls. That's all I ever say.
I
Crystal balls.
hate that. That's the other thing I hate. Like I get it. You got to put resources in and expand it, but like it. when it gets to a point where you literally just don't care about pulling EXs, that's when it's a problem.
Mm. Well, I
Yeah.
think the way to go now that we know that they're doing this is just to save them up, save up the scrolls until they bring out a collab, and then I guess hope to try and get
Oh, yeah.
the EX move.
Like I'm gonna be stuck on one Dante shard, and it's gonna be sitting in my inventory, reminding me that of all the scrolls I used, I pulled one single Dante shard, and I'm like,
Phone
great.
thingy.
Also, is there any news on the EX, the frames that you get? You know, the milestone.
There's a frame for that.
I mean, like if you hit a certain amount of damage on the bison,
Oh,
let's
the shop, the thing that miffed me the most. I made my one thing, and I've left it since. If anything comes about it, sweet. If nothing comes about it, okay, I know what it is.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is 50 of those token things like down the drain, so it's kind of painful for some people who actually bought it. Like I would actually be fuming if I
Well,
actually bought
I
put
don't
yourself in this
understand
position
why they
where
did that.
I don't know
it.
either, but like especially when you're selling the red crystals in the actual store. Imagine you did the stuff, got crystals, and you're like, oh hey, I kind of want to get the frame. I'm gonna spend a little bit extra money, and so I can get the 50 to like get that frame just to make sure I have it. Because previously it's usually been just only in the shop that you get it, and then imagine like a day later, it's like, oh wait, I could have got it for free.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
they
that's
legitimately made it pointless to get it. Like I feel like from here on out, people are going to be skeptical. I never got the banners. I never
I am
bothered with
now
them.
on the train of I'm probably not gonna touch any resources until near the end of the event in case they pull something like that again. And there's no that's why I put it as communication instead of like the issue being the frame itself because
Yeah,
it's the communication that's largely the issue. It
yeah.
wasn't
It
the
yeah.
was a similar issue. Like I think the last event when they changed Gen for Rose and then they put them back or something like
yeah, and
that.
then they randomly swapped it back, but then we got the event back and it actually was Rose.
Yeah. So it's interesting the choices that they're making and how they're making it and how you said the communication is important.
I mean, along the lines of communication, like we don't even know what might be happening like behind closed doors because we don't even have any patch notes on the card duping system thing, and it
Oh yeah,
was
that just
huge.
randomly showed up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what that continues to blow my mind. Where it was just like they'll give like 2% of what they're putting into the actual game for that given moment, but then there's like 98% that they're just like surprise, it's a gift. Like I
Literally,
appreciate the gift, but I'd like to know about it at least, you know? I like to be mentally prepared instead of just scrolling through and just be like, wait, what is this? When did this come from?
Yeah, like that's exactly it. Like I feel like I can't how am I supposed to plan out resources if I don't know if they're gonna randomly just do something?
I guess my question to you guys is knowing that the game well, the context. Supposedly, the game is catered and aimed towards casuals.
Mhm.
Knowing that, as a person, I guess pretty much anyone in this call, I wouldn't consider it casual because you're
No.
in here doing extra stuff.
If you're in
So
a
And
if you're in a Discord or a Reddit or anything, you're automatically discounted as a casual. That counts
yeah,
for
no,
any game,
I want to
not
be
just this game.
casual.
That's any game. You're leaning towards more of a not like hardcore, but you're being more of a power user.
yeah. So knowing that, what is your opinion on the outlook that the developers and the publishers are aiming towards casuals? Because like it if we just took it in a casual mind frame, then putting stuff in randomly without telling people, like they don't care about that type of stuff.
Oh yeah, like they might not even notice. They might not even be playing the day that it showed up.
Yeah. So, the whole car thing to them, it might just be like, oh, this has been in the game from day one. I just didn't get to it.
Yeah, but
That's what I first thought when I saw the cars because I wasn't in any Discord or Reddit for the game. It just popped up one day out of nowhere.
I feel even though it might be, you know, more catered to casuals and casuals might not care about that stuff, you still have a subset of your community that does care, and I don't think they should be, sort of ignored or things should be ignored just because they're the lesser part.
Yeah, that's
because
definitely
overall we're
interesting.
all playing the game,
Yeah,
right?
I guess it's the balance of how do you make everyone happy, or how do you make it where everyone is impacted instead of just one primary group versus another.
I just feel like if the information's there and you're planning it, like why not put the information out? And if the casuals want to read it, they read it. They don't, they don't. And the people who do want to read it probably will read it, but at least the information's there. And then
Yeah,
everybody can
you
make a decision of what they want to do based on what's available rather than being surprised.
yeah you can only do good by letting people know what's coming.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's like,
like hinder anyone.
Well, hold on. Let me be the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Um, I think what game Apex Legends they put out roadmaps, and
yeah.
Mhm.
for months they put out roadmaps where months in advance you know what's going on, possible events, names, and so on and so forth. And just recently, I'm not too sure how long ago, but just recently they made a Twitter explaining how the roadmap is being changed and how some things are not being implemented, and that they want to apologize and so on and so forth. And then in the comments, it's obviously the comments are always going to be split. People are going to be like, oh, it's okay. You communicated with us. We appreciate it. And then on the same flip coin, people are like, you liar. You lied to us. Why did you tell us one thing and then change it? So that's one thing that I noticed, that, like, especially when Dino's communicating with people, he lets people know. He's like, this is the information I have. We don't want to share more because we don't want to be seen as liars or
Mhm.
any of that. So, like, what is your opinion on that? Because, like, you have to, you do, they are trying to be communicative to an extent, but they're also not trying to, it seems like, disrespect the player base or lie to them, because if it,
Yeah.
like, bad PR is bad PR regardless.
In general, I don't like roadmaps.
Okay.
As a player of games, I think roadmaps are bad. In the end, they disappoint the player, and it puts extra pressure on the development team. So roadmaps, I think, shouldn't be a thing. I'm not expecting a roadmap. I wouldn't expect any company to put them out. I would probably rather games not do them. But when you're going to put out an event, and especially when the event is out, at least let us know what's kind of going to happen in the event
Yeah, correct.
since it's here.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like on the topic of this frame, the in-game description says it only comes from the shop, and then boom, randomly, it was an award,
I
right?
still don't
So
understand that.
if the
I'll
description
never
said
understand that.
shop and or like achievement, then be like, oh, okay, let's wait and see what the achievement is. But the game tells us one thing, but then we're faced with two options out of nowhere.
Yeah, that I do. I wouldn't say it's a slap in the face, but it's definitely like a
I
slap
don't
in the
think it
wrist.
yeah, like I felt like it was kind of a slap because it just happened out of nowhere. But and I did it. Like obviously to somebody who didn't do it, they're like, oh sweet, jackpot, awesome. I don't have to do that anymore. And that's a good thing. Like I think everybody should have an opportunity to get the frame in some like a thing, like not even just the frame, just anything in general. But if there's going to be more than one option, I feel like the options should be shown to us
Yes.
off the get go, so then we can make a proper decision.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, my on roadmaps are like you mentioned, right, Sir Turtle? Like you're tied to if you say something, you're tied to do it. Like you
Yeah,
cannot change it. And
look at
if
Star
you
Citizen.
go ahead.
Oh, saying look at Star Citizen as an example. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Like also in Raid Shadow Legends, right? They have a roadmap for like the longest period, like already 2 years or 1 year or something like that. So then like the community knows they wanted this and this, and they're expecting something to happen, but they're never coming out. So then actually, instead of doing any good, it just does harm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's where it's interesting, because, like, that was the biggest point where initially was a roadmap. A lot of people were asking for it, and it's like how you guys are saying, it could be a little bit of a dangerous thing because when you promise things and you can't deliver, or you deliver it in a different way, it's gonna be like people are just gonna rag on you, or as a company saying this, that, and the third. The other thing is like how you said tick. If when you do a roadmap, you're as a company you're locking yourself into that, just purely on the roadmap. You can't change anything. So like for example, let's say you have a collab that is coming out, and you said, oh, King of Fighters collab is coming out in 3 months. But then, as a company, let's say you get a more spicier collab that you want to put, but because you said King of Fighter collab is coming out, that spicy collab now got to come out maybe 6 months to a year later. And in the business aspect, which one is better, the more spicier one or the one that you promised everyone?
I think the one that you promised everyone, because it instills trust from your player base that you are gonna, like, I don't remember the phrase, but you're gonna do what you said you do. Like, you're keeping your promises.
Mm, okay.
So I have a bit of a, I guess, controversial standpoint on roadmaps, I guess you could say, where I don't mind them too much, but I prefer companies to be vague with them, if you get what I mean. So I don't want them to give me like a specific, time or a date, being like, oh, it's going to be coming in, like the next 3 months or so. I definitely want to be told, oh, I've got a collab coming on, and it might be, the later half of next year, sort of thing. Like that kind of giving a heads up and letting people know what's happening, or if you're trying to implement, system changes, letting people know that you're thinking about it. So again, the whole communication aspect is being taken care of. But again, you're not over promising in what you're trying to deliver, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I agree.
do it within
I agree.
moderation.
Yep, I agree.
So
Now,
like my best example, ever so quickly, would be, for example, Dragon Ball Fighters, because I love that game to death. One of the reasons I stopped playing was because he didn't have rollback. They announced that they were going to do it, but rather than giving, an exact date, they just said next year it's coming, and everybody was like, "Yeah, that's great." We know at some point next year it's coming, so
It's
that they
like
were
building
more
a hype.
focused on that.
It's
Exactly,
like
rather than
it's
being
like building a hype. Yeah, make it more interested. So person will really be invested in what will happen next. You understand? Don't give
yeah,
an exact
rather than
date.
it being like
okay, so here's
yeah,
my
exactly.
question. How long? So how much time would you like to be given in terms of the information? Like if you could say, "Hey, company, we don't want a roadmap, but we want some information." What would be the best buffer time for to build up hype and allows people to gather resources, plan things out, and stuff like that. Free to play casual says 2 weeks at least, so that YouTubers cover it. That's a pretty good time
Yeah,
frame.
I'd say that. So
Two
like
weeks
two
too
to
long.
4 weeks. Yeah, two to 4 weeks.
Well,
Definitely, just like even if it's a couple of lines saying that, oh, we might have this, and then at the bottom of an asterisk, they've got subject to change, so they're covering their own back in that regards. I think that would be perfect.
I can just say one thing. Well, from my standpoint, I think it all depends the year the game coming out. If it's a game that, if it's like an update or whatever that coming out next year, I expect it for have announced it the year before, so we get all the time to prepare, right? In case any personal thing can come up, you understand? But if it's anything that coming out within the same year, maybe a month or two or so before it come out, the initial update come out, I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I have definitely as a content creator been trying to push for the country road to be like, hey, I especially for me, I want to be the news guy. Like, hey, all those new units, if you give it to any content creator what their kit can do, give them a little video cap of their combos. Let at least give them the trials. Let the creators have access or give them videos for the trials a week or two before the unit comes out, and then they could push that hype for for everyone. You know, they're not uh, promising anything that's not already there. I think that
I agree.
is amazing, but I understand from what the information is given is that like a lot of things, especially that in terms of the business and how the companies ran in general, a lot of people don't understand that it needs to be approved. It needs to be ran through, uh, you know, different people to say yes, this is going to work because, well, with this game, there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, so everyone has to have their input before it officially, gets premiered. And at the moment they don't have any internal people to hand off these product content to be able to publish it. So it's a lot of like interesting business aspects that a lot of people are not seeing. And so I do understand because like I said, as a content creator, I've spoken to Dino many a times. I'm like, yo, bro, like, give me something, man. Give me anything, a piece of candy. May I have a crumb, sir? But he's very vocal and honest about it. It was just like there's some things that just can't be done realistically in certain powers that be. It's, there's a lot of good PR, but bad PR doesn't fully exist. Gotcha games like that. Okay, yeah. So, in terms of the event, EX, yeah, like I guess it will always be the topic of communication, and one of the things that I've noticed is like the outlook on how the game is. It's murk. It's I don't know what's the proper word. This I've never seen a game personally where there's so many opinions on it that are in different aspects. So in one video, for example, Punk the God. If anyone's familiar with fighting game community, Punk the God is one of the best Street Fighter fighters players in the world, and he recently
Yeah.
just put a video out covering Street Fighter Duels. And if you look at the comments, it's like everyone's like, "Get your bag, but game sucks." But then if you look at a different content creator, I'm not familiar with Orange Juice or something. He covers a whole different line of games, but he was one that they pushed to promote the game. And if you look at his content, it's nothing but love on the game. So it's a different and interesting outlook because just like I guess they came from a more mobile minded aspect where they're familiar with gotcha games, they're familiar with the dynamic of how a gotcha game is ran, so they're more understanding and forgiving versus uh, Punk's community where they come straight from a fighting game community where there's drastic competitiveness. They just didn't like it. They were just like, "Nah, we ain't about this."
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's too.
I think it all depends on community.
Yeah.
Sorry, I spoke over someone.
No, this is good. Yeah, but so my question to you guys is, it. What do you see outside of Discord? How do you think the game is being seen versus inside the Discord? How you guys actually see?
I started this game due to probably about 8 of my friends sort of getting pretty excited for it and all that stuff. I was later to the game than them. As it stands now, I'm the only one still playing. They all
Well, for
kind of
me, I see. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Continue. My apologies.
sorry. They all kind of well, one of them kind of plays. He's kind of like a gotcha player, but the rest of them, they're just like no. And the one that kind of did stick around, his final straw was kind of just seeing what happened with Vega, and then he told me he wasn't playing anymore. He said he was sick of every new unit being Master Infernal, Master Infernal, Master Infernal. So he said, "Forget it." It's the guy who plays Poison. He's not coming back to the game. He's done.
Yeah, that saddens my heart. We need more poison users.
So, and he got pretty far. Like he's chapter 33, but yeah, he's done. He's done. He's like deleted it, moved on due to just the way the characters are releasing. And I mean, they might have plans for more normal units, and that'll be really cool. It's just right now, in the face of it, everything's been Master Infernal, and they're like, forget it, they're done.
I will say, like, I feel like a lot of people forget, um, it's poison, like street poison.
Yeah, but that's one unit out of how many that have been
That's true.
released since the
Let me
game
see how
has
many
come out.
have been released since.
He's looking at the
Uma,
trend.
Vega, Dante, Monster Hunter Ken, Trendy
Trendy Cammy,
Cammy,
uh,
that's
Flame Chun,
Flame
Legendary.
Chun 6, it's Poison 7. Yeah, I'm counting 7 units, and only
Yeah,
one
and
is an elemental. Yeah. Oh
yeah,
wow.
exactly.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah, so it's like
Wow.
forget it. I'm done. Yeah,
I did not even register that. Holy
yeah.
cow.
It's kind of not a good look for the thing, especially when we have no information about anything else other than masters and units. They're going purely off what's happening.
Now,
So
I guess the only thing I mentioned this a long time ago when they first started releasing characters was the if you take if you take all the factions and how many
mhm,
units are in each faction, uh they all roughly round out to the same. I think Fire is the only one that has one less compared to all the other ones. They had 9 versus 8,
mhm.
and then because and then with Inferno we have Bison, Jury, and then Massive we have Rose, Gen. So I feel like because of how they launched the game with the amount of units, and because I think we have 40, 41 or 42 or just 40 flat out units in the game, and 36 of them are faction, that the Inferno and Masters technically needs to catch up. That's the only thing that to me makes sense as to why you're pushing out so many Inferno Masters to try to like keep up or match the other factions.
Like I sort of like I get that, right? But it's just the way the optics look to
Yeah,
other people,
yeah. The
right?
looks of it don't look too clean. Like it's not too hot because it's like it's. Here's the other thing: if you're catering to the casual, then wouldn't that like contradict what you
Yeah,
want?
everything is the most expensive
Yeah, like
higher tier of everything. Like because we got divination, which is double the cost, and then this new special summons, which is double the cost of divination almost. So like even if it's from a time standpoint, just based off the rates that we're going, blah blah blah, all that. How long is it going to take anybody to have a usable Akuma versus a regular thing? Even if you're just casual, you wouldn't be able to really use your Akuma.
yeah, yeah. I don't understand that. Like that kind of. Now that I'm thinking about it, it really doesn't make sense because it's like, especially how what Sion said last week, where the his contention was that collabs are supposed to be the most free to play friendly to get everyone in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just not that way. It's like
Oh yeah, no, these things are crazy.
it's so. I mean, it's new. I'm not a gotcha person like often. Like I played like
Neither
I
am I.
think 5 total, so I'm not experienced with this as much as everyone else. But it's just like I guess it just doesn't make sense. Like it really doesn't make sense. Especially if you are catered to the casuals, why would you like paywall these new units to the extent that you have?
Yeah, see, I
No, you're
understand.
completely
Understanding the
100% right.
Could you repeat that?
Oh, I was saying that you're completely 100% right. Like I've been playing gacha games for a while now. I'll probably say like since 2007 maybe. And the one recurring thing that I can say with most of them is when they do have their collab events coming out and they do have, those like sought after hyped units. There's more time than not like a free to play version, not of the unit, but just like a free to play version character that you can get
somewhere. If it's not like a game mode, it might be given out through mail. If it's not that, then it's something you might get through an achievement or something. But both of our events, I get it's like MH King and Dante, but you know bringing something along those events that could be free to play friendly and the character is something that we definitely do need.
Yeah, no, I definitely think. Well, hold on. Here's again devil's advocate. In the terms of Monster Hunter Ken, there are people who love the free Monster Hunter Ken, and then there are people who despise the free Monster Hunter Ken. So, like, how do you balance that? Like, how does one handle that to make the most out of the event where people are coming in, they're loving the event, they're getting units, but also having access to it, but also making money. How does one, how do you do that in, especially with like how we have it now set up? Like, what would you guys change or do?
You would have two characters that come out. One that is Master slash Infernal or Legendary. One that's Elemental. The Elemental character will be the free to play character. You'll get certain copies, maybe the same way they done Emryu, through exploration or milestone mission rewards up to maybe SS plus, whatever it is to start out with. So you've got the fighting spirit for him, so that it's at least usable in some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just have the second character there that's either done through special summons or however else they want to do it. I think
Mm-hmm.
that would definitely be the best way because then there's bringing in more people if they've got two, different characters from it. So we could have had, I don't know, Monster Hunter Ken and I don't know, Zangief dressed as a lizard this time. I don't know. Um, and the Zangief wouldn't be as good as the Monster Hunter Ken, but he could still be, really good if it could be, I don't know, Crusade, or it could be good for, tower progression or story, like one of those things. Then it would be seen like a worthwhile event, You got a character that you're getting for free that's helping you progress, so you're staying more in the game. And I feel like people would be more likely to, then do everything else that comes afterwards, especially summon for all the characters, max them out and stuff like that.
So you actually liked when Trendy Cami and Street Poison launched. That's
Yeah,
basically
like
what you want. That you
I think
want
that was
that more
great. I think
frequently.
that was great.
That
yeah, that was
okay.
amazing because how I saw it is like, okay, Trendy Cami, she was master. Me personally, I was already working on jury, so I was like, maybe I'll get a copy for collection. But Street Poison, I saw her there, wind unit. My personal goal is to have all the win units fully built anyway. So when I saw her, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely getting her. And I was pleasantly surprised when I was using her initially, to the point where I think at SS, like I immediately got her Fighting Spirit to plus 20, and I subbed her up for my Elena that's like triple S plus 5, like plus 26 or something with like 5 cards. And I haven't looked back since, to be fair.
So how would you implement? How would you suggest the implementation of that versus like a Vega banner or an Akuma banner or whatever? Because like, so let's say Vega came with someone else. Would you have been fine with how they handled his event as long as the other unit was a regular faction unit that was in the regular pool? So like, is that what you're saying? Like, you're fine with Vega being in the divination. Wait, where he's in the divination, right? Yeah, he's in the divination. That would be similar to Trendy Cami. But what if they did something like how they're doing, how like Akuma? Would you be okay with the exact Akuma event plus a free to play faction unit?
Yeah, that would be totally fine. Like for Akuma. And then when you're coming to collabs, I feel like it would have to be the same thing, but then in a collaboration manner, you know? So there's also the kind of elemental, whether it's wind, thunder, or fire variant of a collaboration character that's a lot easier to get within that kind of time period than just the special summons or divinations. Because if we really look at it, the resources for getting that, it's minimal unless you're, really far in chapters, gotten your team set up. Um, kind of just gotten that kind of, I guess, edge against other people in your server. And you're, managing to get to top 64 in final showdown, doing really well in battle royale. You're not really getting special tokens. You're getting the 3 a day if you're spending the gems. And it's the case of like a lot of people, even myself included. It's like you'll have the tickets, once you're done with it, it's like, okay, then what? It's like I'm not getting any more for weeks, potentially months, and this event's here for what, 14 days.
Yeah, are you okay with legendary units and how they handle them now?
Legendaries, I think that's fine. I feel like, especially if they do decide to rerun that, and I feel like only the future will tell. At the moment, how the legendary ones have been handled, Fashion Blanca by far has been the best. Definitely a
Hmm.
free to play unit. Um, Flame Chun-Li, I think out of the rest of them were handled the best. Um, in terms of the ones that East had to pay cash for. And I like to see more like that. The Sakura one, I kind of had some sort of reservations with it because, again, there was no point in making it a lottery pool when you was going to give everybody 50% off. You might as well just made it 50% off in the
Yeah,
first place.
that made no sense. That
Um,
that I was just like, you
I
knew
found that to be
immediately it was a
a
business tactic when they did that. You knew immediately that
yeah,
was just like
that was a psychological
yeah,
tactic for sure. To be like, oh, look at that, I got the highest rate, let me definitely get that.
yeah.
Um,
Now,
but yeah,
what if
I
they
feel
made
like
a
they've
bison
handled.
like character as paid or cash only? Would you
Wait,
still?
turtle. I mean, I'm fine with legendary units, right? Because like you can straight away get them to SSS +5 pretty easily by linking it. So then
Yeah, that's chef's kiss in my opinion.
yeah, they have crazy value, right? But then like what I would it's okay for paying players, like paying $25, the value is there, right? Like definitely the value is there. But like having a chance, even though it might take 3 months, 4 months, at least a way. Like it doesn't mean like okay, there's no possible way you can get a legendary character besides paying. Then that is just like catering towards well your target audience for sure, but then like there's some players
Is
that are
it?
free to
Is that catering towards casuals though?
I mean okay casuals do spend, and
That's
their
true.
their their range probably like it's not maybe fashion soccer range, it's probably the flame chun li range, right?
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so then like that pricing is definitely better than Fashion Sakura. But then for the play, I mean, if they don't want to cater to the free to play players, it is important in the game. I'm not saying like I know like the devs and stuff like that. They probably hate free to play players, but it is important in your economy to have, and that's what I want to put out. So then like catering towards all the economy. I mean ecosystem, not economy. I'm sorry, catering towards the whole ecosystem is also important for the overall game health. That's what I'm trying to get at, and like having a chance for every single part of the ecosystem. I mean, yeah, ecosystem to get that character is important. Like, okay, maybe instead of casual players, they can spend 20 or 30 bucks for Fashion Chun Li, but then for players like me, it might be take like 2 months or 3 months, but it is possible to get it. So then, in that sense, free to play players don't complain. They don't start hate. They don't add fuel to anything, and the paying players don't feel like, okay, you know what, I'm losing something just because I should have not paid the money. They probably would have just paid the money and maybe not forego any resources of any kind. So then technically it's having value in both parties.
Yeah, it's definitely. I love how you put it, like the ecosystem, because like I was trying to think. It was like, how does when you mentioned that word in my head for some reason, like I pictured now the ecosystem's more like a zoo, if that makes sense. Where you got
Yeah.
like the big pool is the whales, and then you got the little cages where it's like the casuals, and then you got the smallest cages which is the free to play, and like lunch is not spread out evenly to everyone. That's just how my mind just went to it because I was like, yeah, it
I
kind of
mean,
makes sense.
yeah, here's the thing: like megalodons eat whales, right? And then the whales eat those smaller fishes and stuff like that. They all fuel. They add fuel, like the energy from one, and then a bigger fish than a free to play eats it, and then a bigger fish eats that. Like they fuel that sense of ego and sense of like, okay, you know what? I'm sticking around just because there is that. But if you kill all these small fishes, then you're basically killing all the fishes that is a little bit bigger, and then if you kill that, you're killing all the bigger fishes, and then now you're just having the megalodon and eating other megalodons, and they probably just would extinct. You
Yeah.
need circular system to have a successful health in a game.
Yeah, it's like you turn the game from as you were saying like a pool or a pond into one of those like what's it the Chinese poison jars. That's what happens if you take out the
Yeah,
small fish. It's
yeah,
like everyone just goes around killing each other until there's one person who's the strongest, and then what's the point really?
exactly. I mean, that is my take on legendaries, right? I mean, it's nice that they changed it. Obviously, it would have been nice for free to play players. I'm not saying it's a must, but it's something to consider. There's going to be always people like complaining and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You
I
know what's
guess.
funny? Oh, sorry, go.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Mine's gonna. I'm gonna add. Like, I'm gonna go into a different topic because of the what you
Oh,
guys
okay.
were said. So go
I
ahead.
was only going off the because somebody mentioned the poison packs. These things are really funny to me because these are kind of the thing because like I spend a little bit of money on the game, right? These are kind of the things that I would get, but I had like a maximum value that I would spend on these little poison packs, right? So like I don't buy anything over like because I'm Canadian, so this is why the price difference is going to sound different. I don't buy anything over like the $6 or the $12 poison pack, right?
Hmm.
I've noticed now that I'm like at a certain level, so challenge 34 and tower and whatnot. Now the minimum poison pack I get offered is like 30 something dollars. I ignore these now.
Oh, word! They took out
Yeah,
the small
Yeah,
packs.
so the higher you get, it looks like the more expensive the minimum value you are allowed to buy is. So now my only
yeah,
options are 32, 65, and $134. I don't buy these
That
anymore.
don't make no sense. And
yeah. That's
now
what
that
I,
you
I'm
mentioned that,
slowly
that
noticing. I noticed like the dollar one went away after a certain point. Then I noticed like the $3, but that was still within my buffer, right? Like
mhm.
$12 I said was my maximum. And then the $12 went away, and I was like, screw it, I don't buy these anymore. Forget it. Like why? But there's still valuable things in that little $12 thing that I could use if I wanted to buy them.
The fact that you brought that up actually coincides with what I was gonna say. It the choices that they're making, even if they're aiming for casuals, it seems counterproductive to the longevity of the game, and it blows my mind at least maybe because I don't understand it. Because like poison backs, how you said, the higher you get, the more expensive they are. One of the things I was going to bring up was the guild the server locks. I How does that benefit your game? I wish I could legitimately ask a dev, how does server locks benefit the game for the longevity? How does it benefit?
Hi everyone.
Hello. How does it benefit the overall dynamics in the ecosystem that you want to push longevity in the
Well,
game, and you have guild versus guild events, like you have these things in here. It's like, it's to me, I don't understand. It's like you have the whole dynamics that can cater to free to play, you have the whole dynamics that can cater to pay to win, and all of that, but yet your focus is on casuals, which, like, realistically, how large is the casual player base? Is it
I'm sure.
realistically like 75% or more?
um, okay everyone, I'm playing Street Fighter. Street Fighter Duel a little bit.
Um, I think that it is at least 75%.
But not okay. So if it is 75%, and so I guess if someone knows, how does this server lock help them?
Because it puts them in their own group so that they can still achieve instead of having the entire player base to compete against. They
No,
just compete against their own little bit.
my buddy, he's kind of a early thing. He's one of the guys still playing. He's like the one guy, and he's the casual guy. He's on server 6. His guild, he cannot get anybody into his guild.
Mm-hmm.
Server 6 is all just either people who've been playing a long time and have spent money, or it's whales. Like, he has absolutely zero chance to get his guild going, and the people that are there, they aren't forming guilds on their own. They're trying to get into the bigger whale guilds, but the
Yeah.
whale guilds obviously gatekeep.
Yeah.
So they're stuck in a position where he can only get a maximum of 8 people. And Turtle, that's why I felt so hesitant about leaving his guild,
No, I get it.
because I knew it was gonna put him even worse off with, like, say, this guild effigy. It was me and my buddy basically carrying his guild and making sure they could get things done. But then once my buddy left, it's like it's just me, and it's like, ah, crap. What do I do at this point?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because like for me, you know, it's impossible to get new players to the
Well,
server or to the guild.
150%.
What happened?
It's like really impossible. I found like not even a little workaround. I haven't even done it in a couple of weeks, but I did manage to recruit my alt into one of my
They patched that out.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was doing, kind of like server hopping and making alt
Yep.
and
They
having
they
that in
patched
between
that
it.
out.
But
They patched that out.
it's
It hurts so much.
it's like it's just so bad. Like there's no point, I feel like, server locking guilds. I understand, battle zones and making sure the people that you're fighting are in relative kind of power levels to you in terms of, the amount of time you've spent in the game, or when you initially started anyway, with like the servers and stuff. But for the guilds, they just need to open that thing wide open. That's what they need to do. It shouldn't matter what server you're in. If you're on server 1, you should be able to join a guild that's in like server 400 and vice versa.
Yeah, because like I don't understand how, like, because if you keep this and you serve a lot, even casuals that are in a guild where they're like, oh, this feels good, you're gonna get to a point where it's gonna stop feeling good because you're gonna notice your guild is dying. You're gonna be like, huh, our guild number was 50 and now it's 35. What's going on?
Exactly. Like I ended up having to um disband my guild to join another guild back when the first effigy came. And then after that left, I was kind of dissatisfied with that one, wanting to join another guild. There was like two options in my server. One was level 2 with like 4 people. One was like level 4 with 15. Um, and it's literally just come a case of all the active people are slowly just going to one guild we need to get our daily guild stuff done. And I'm not really trying to wait 4 to 5 days for the pathing guild to open.
Yeah, it is definitely uh confusing, because like initially it was open to everyone at
Mm-hmm.
launch, and that's the thing that I guess confuses me more, is that you broke what wasn't broken. Why? I don't understand it. Like, it was open to everyone, and like, yeah, I get, like, maybe you want to try to avoid having the earlier guilds be like the kings of the game and stuff like that, but there's other ways to go about it, because you're literally actively killing all your guilds, not just the older guilds. You're killing all your guilds when you're limiting them to only 25 servers, because like there's always going to be a limited player base within these servers, especially if you're making like a couple of 100 servers a week. I think we're at like 700 now.
Mhm.
Like I don't understand how that's beneficial. Like I
I'm
don't.
just waiting for the server mergers to be fair, because it's bound to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I understand with the servers just because in this type of game, like you're geared towards like, okay, I want to be number one. And if you're competing for the ranks, you're basically spending more money, right? So there's some monetary incentives on that. And also some players don't want to join into the game knowing that they're behind from other players. So then, it keeps them from staying in the game because they're competing with players their own level. But then I do agree, like maybe in some content you don't want the merges or you don't want like very vast spreads of like in guilds, right? Like they might do something that's at least have an option to join other guilds, but it might be a little tricky. I don't know what's the sweet spot for that.
Yeah,
You
because
know what'd be
like
good? Oh, sorry.
no, the only thing I was gonna say is because like they'll eventually with the amount of servers coming out, they're gonna have to combine servers. Like that's
Oh, 100%.
I do think that would be detrimental to casual and a lot of free to play players
how so.
because it would put them in pools with a lot more whales, so they can achieve and compete less with for like higher ranked stuff. Because in individual servers, it's their own pools, like in PvP and arena stuff. So you're not playing against the entire player base full of whales. It's just your server.
Mm, that's true.
I mean, for me, if like okay, for sure, this might be a hot take, okay, but then like as you merge servers, like I would think maybe you might have at least instead of one first prize, rewards, you might have like five first prize rewards, and then maybe instead of like you know to like a certain number of players getting like top 10 rewards, it's even more just because you're merging all these servers together. It means you have an influx on pools and having it more competitive. I don't know if it's like detrimental towards like if you merge it all together, like some players don't want to do I don't know about that, but that's just like my take.
I guess I guess it's because like I'm in the older servers, so I'm definitely feeling it, and that's where I don't see the benefit of it. But I guess I understand like newer servers, new people, they don't want to deal with these megalodons that are in like server one. It's just like again, it really does suck. There's not like I would love to get these casuals and new players into my guild. I just can't. I just you know, and then I guess what I don't understand is they don't care about retention. It seems like where like I would have thought that would be a small standard basis of any gaming company. It's like yes, I understand you want new players, you want to upgrade those numbers, you want higher numbers and stuff like that. But in order to keep these numbers growing, you also have to be able to retain these players to make that number get larger. And it feels like they're not focusing on retentions with how they're handling some of these decisions.
Charizard just made a really good point in the chat.
Let me read it. Let me read it. Okay, it's Senor Charizard slash Dino says you started the game, had that hype moment, and most people tend to leave within the first month. It's part of most gacha games, so the new servers are to fit the needs of the newer ones coming in, which is happening. So a lot of those existing servers are flooded with those who've left. So I guess my question to you, if Charizard, would be like, how do you take care of those that still stood behind in your earlier servers? Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't close out those servers to make new ones. So like, what would you do to make them feel good? That's the, I guess what my thing is like I love the game, but I feel like I'm being punished because I've been here since day one. It's definitely showed me that I never want to play a game on launch. I'll wait until like 2 months after. That's what I've learned. That's how it feels like. It
Yeah, but
depends.
since you're an anti-meta guy, like you technically don't want to play the game like when there's already established meta and stuff like that, and you just want to go in unknown, and you don't really care about like placing the top or being in the same leaderboards of the leader, the whales and stuff like that. So then, I mean, for you as a player, that you with your ideas, I would say like going in raw and at the start is the way to go.
Is it though? I mean, I guess, like in the terms of like learning and doing stuff, and like before metas are situated and stuff like that. But like as just playing the game, like how I know mentioned, like a new casual player starting today will probably get like a S or a S plus Akuma, and the Akuma would be their highest unit versus a player that's been there since day one. He says, it depends since you have factor in if people are actually playing guilds. Some people may not be in the guild. We see many players actually not in guilds. Oh, interesting. Really? That's insane. The guilds are such an integral part of the game.
I feel like when I started a game, I started like new accounts, and the game like really tries to push me to be in a guild. Like it's always yelling in my face if I'm not in a guild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you're losing out on so much resources and stuff
Well, not
not
even
being in the
that.
guild.
Just the game is like legitimately yelling in my face. Hey, join a guild.
Oh, really? It has like a
Yeah.
constant
If I don't,
notification?
yeah, on my free to play, I wasn't even going to because I was like, whatever, like it's just my free to play. But like every time I logged in, it would be like, join a guild.
Interesting.
So then I finally just joined one to stop getting this pop up on my screen. I don't even interact with that guild. It was legitimately just to get something to stop bothering me.
I'm sorry, Ducky, but apparently you're not considered a casual, homie. If you're in like chapter 30, you are definitively not a casual. Like casuals are like chapter 5, chapter 10. Most players aren't on chapter 10. Oh Jesus, man, we are so tryhard.
Well, in that case, like I want to word this carefully because uh,
Just say your mind, say your piece, man. Speak it with your
okay,
chest.
okay. Just gonna say, then the tone that I'm getting is kind of like when I read these packs where you get less for spending more. It always feels like the tone is if you're playing too long, leave already, go away, stop being here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the
You
it's
know,
like they don't want people to stay. They're fine
it's
with
like I'm
new
enjoying the
players.
game, I want to hang out, but it's like it's just overall, it just seems to like stop, go away.
The tones you shouldn't be playing 6 to 8 hours a day. It's a 1 to 2 hour a day game. 30 minutes minimum. I guess.
Okay, so then yeah, so then us wanting to play the game and enjoy the game and whatnot.
I don't know, but isn't that like counterproductive to business and making money? That's where I'm like, I need to take a business class in terms of some of this stuff because it's
No,
like
but
you
why
want.
also realize with gacha game? Sorry, maybe we cut
No,
you,
go
but
ahead, go ahead, go
why
ahead.
realize with gacha game? It doesn't matter. Listen, these persons they don't really care about how much per long persons playing though. They're only focusing on the revenue. Is I playing gacha game for almost 10 years now, and that is just it. A lot of these games may start are free to play friendly, and at the end, it's just become pay to win. If you don't have money, you cannot survive in this game. You will
Wait,
not be in top rank
Well,
unless you grinding every single day. Unless you
well,
playing
yeah.
every
Unless you
single day.
grind, yeah. I was about to say like you can
Remember,
compete, but it's a different outlook.
Yeah,
I would
like
say
every single day. And persons don't really get the time to play every single day of play for 4, 5, 6 hours because some persons working and some other stuff. So unless you really get money in the future, you're gonna see how pay to win this game. If it pay to win now, imagine next couple of months where you're gonna get when better characters come out or a better version of a character come out that is already inside the game. That's all I got to say.
ambassador. Ambassador.
Yeah.
Somebody in chat said you sound Jamaican. I'm Jamaican, but to me, you sound more Trinidadian or Guyanan.
Oh, but by the way,
I am
Ambassador, are
I am
you?
Guyanese.
You
I'm
Guyanese, yeah,
Guyanese.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell the
I
difference
love your
between the
accent.
accent.
It's dope. It's dope as hell.
Yeah.
As a hearing impaired person, I'm struggling to hear what you're saying, but I'm following. I'm following. It's dope.
It's a sick
Yeah, like
accent.
guys people start fast. Guys people start fast. Nice guy is
Mhm.
Caribbean. Really,
Yeah,
Caribbean start
Caribbean,
fast.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a difference between Jamaican, Guyanese, Trinidadian. Like they're all different. Because I grew up Jamaican household, so like for me, I can tell the difference. That's why I was like, no, you're not Jamaican, but you're definitely Trinidadian or
He's
Guyanese.
Caribbean, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, just have a after big question, right? Let me ask you a question. You think it's chicken curry or curry chicken?
It's curry chicken.
So
Aye.
No,
so
no, it's
Dino
curry chicken,
mentions
curry chicken.
Curry chicken,
Same way
curry
you say
goat.
curry goat, same way you say curry chicken.
So you gonna
Yeah.
curry the chicken? So you gonna curry the chicken? What's that? You don't put the chicken in there inside the curry though. Chicken curry. Continue.
No, it's curry chicken.
there's just too much for me.
Same way I'm gonna say curry goat is the same way I'm gonna say
We don't
curry
need this
chicken.
debate. This debate can go on forever.
Yeah.
Me don't know it's
Let's focus back on Street Fighter Duels.
Yeah.
Dino mentions a lot of casuals do spend. For example, we have seen people whose parents have been spending for their teens, and their teens are just playing for fun. Chapter 10 Max, the IP helps resonates with parents slash kids. I I understand that. I guess here's my question would be I guess this is less of a Street Fighter Duels thing and more of a game industry thing. I had a mindset or an outlook that the game industry as a whole plays more than just a half hour to an hour, regardless of what game it is. Like whether it's mobile, uh, like on the Switch, or
I mean,
cause
I
I
mean,
mean
like,
like Diablo is not a 30 minute game, and that's on mobile.
at the start, you technically when you're into the game or when you first start the game, you try to play as much as you want because you're actually in the honeymoon phase, right?
Yeah,
And during that phase, like during
Yeah.
the initial phase, especially in this game, like they hit you with like those packs, those things like that, and you're bound to hit a wall, and you want to play more. And that's when that's when you start spending or stuff like that. And then once you're in the later stages, I mean, I don't know, like the actual like psychological like methods that they use to. I think a lot of players with like the fear of missing out and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like
Poison
quite
packs are
big.
promo for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I'm still confused on it as a total because it's like if you're thinking money wise, right? Like I understand, like even in like bars and whatever, you're always gonna get new customers coming in, and that's your large chunk of money. But you also have your regulars that are always coming back spending money, and it just feels like they don't care for the regulars. And I
Yeah.
don't like as a whole. That's why I brought like the whole gaming industry is like, for example, a game like Apex Legends. It doesn't seem like that's a game that will get new players in very frequently. They're more for like those players that play for hours on end, and they're more for players that they try to retain players as opposed to getting newer players. And I guess maybe it's because mobile is different, and it's a whole different beast in terms of mobile.
Yeah, because
Uh,
you can split mobile games into a couple of different, types of games. So you're gonna have like your Apex Legends mobile, your like PUBG, Call of Duty, whatever it is, right? You will then have like your gacha games, Epic 7, like Dokkan Battle, those kind of games. You're gonna have your idle games, so that might be like Nikki, SF Duel, AFK Arena. They're
mm-hmm,
all gonna be catering differently to their audience slightly, because of the time that they're kind of spending on their game, if you get what I mean,
mm-hmm,
just as an overall. But I'll definitely say in the case of idle games, because that's what I would consider, SF Duel to be. It does seem like at the beginning, as you were saying, they're definitely coddling you, showing you a bunch of different offers that are reasonable. And then later on, it's like, you know what the deal is. Like, if you want the bonuses, if you want that kind of head start, not even head start, but if you want that little kind of pick me up,
mm-hmm.
we're gonna run you like a couple a couple hundred, that's how it's kind of getting to at this point. So I guess it's just time will tell, innit? It's either it's gonna get better or it's gonna get worse, or it might stay the same. But yeah,
It's definitely interesting outlook because I guess he's always stated every company does things differently because I know everyone's just like, why don't you just copy AFK Arena? And I mean, that statement alone is kind of scary because then if everyone copied AFK Arena, where's the difference?